You are watching Access LaPorte County Channel 97. Coming up next is the April 22nd meeting for the Michigan City Revolving Loan Committee. And you can find more information for this meeting by visiting www.accesslaportecounty.org.
There's a sign-in sheet. We have a quorum. This committee met over 5 years ago, and part of the reason is we have to have activity, i.e. a loan to consider for us to meet. So since there's been really no loan activity, we have not met. So what you have in your packet is the minutes from the last meeting. So this current board can agree to formalize the meeting so we can move it forward. So, and since over half of you weren't here, I'm not sure you can even consent of what's there, but this is a summary of the meeting minutes from the last, when we made it 2019, so I need somebody to make a motion to.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of May 20th, 2019.
Second.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Are there any opposed? All right, they're approved. Clarence?
So, I mean, my apologies, I should have gone around the room and have everybody introduce themselves since there's a lot of new people on here. So for the record, my name is Clarence Halls. I'm the ECMC director. We run the program on behalf of the city.
Mayor Angie Nelson Deitch.
Steve Kring, I work at Horizon Bank.
City Councilman at Large, Don Fritz-Volinsky, and I'm the liaison from the City Council to the Revolving Loan Committee.
Pastor Kimberly Williams, also teacher at Michigan City Area Church. Sheree Wilson, I work for Son and Boy, project manager.
Caroline Cartagena Edwards, Economic Development Manager here at the EDCMC.
Felicia Hicks, local business owner.
Scott Melland, local business owner.
Welcome all. Just want to give you guys a quick update on the idea behind this program. I believe in 2010, September, the City Council created this loan fund. Well, actually, it wasn't a loan fund. It was a incentive for Federal Mobile when they were still in operation. They were threatening to leave the city at that point. And so as part of incentive to keep them in the city gave them this money, over $600,000 to actually repair their roof and to improve their building. The resolution was passed. They never took the money, and they eventually closed and moved their their company to Mexico. So I think the money sat there for a while, and it was this council decided at some point to make it a rolling loan fund. It never really took off, and I guess when I got here in 2013, Mr. Councilman Professor asked me to help put together a program, and we put together a program to actually get some loans done. As we delved into it, we realized that we didn't have the software. You needed to do all the checks. As you bankers know, there's a whole bunch of software you got to have behind the scenes to do loans. And so we, at that point, subcontract the actual loan processing to the RDC out of Valparaiso, Regional Development Corporation, which is a statewide SBA loan processor. And so we've had that relationship the past 10 years with them to, once we get a loan, they complete the application, which is the same one as the SBA application, and that way we consider our loan SBA loans or any other loans that they use within their portfolio. So that's the way it has worked over the past, 9 years. One of the things we discovered was, we had this program actually modified in, what date was it? Modified in 2015 because we found out it was difficult to get people to apply. So we modified some of the terms to get more people to apply. We had about probably 5 loans done after that. So in your packet, there will be a summary, and if you want to go line by line when they paid, didn't pay, but this is a summary of the the loans that are outstanding. We had my glass actually paid off their note early in 2022, but since previously we had Zorn when they first got started. They had a loan for $260,000. They paid up to date $161,000 plus. Outstanding balance right now for them is about $98,662 and 50 cents. They had a big issue when they started. They actually used the note to actually buy the brewing tanks, and it took them 2 years to get it. So they almost got out of business, and so we had to come back to the committee to actually redo the loan for them and give them kind of incentives to pay interest only for a while, because they ordered the brew tanks and they realized it took them 2 years to manufacture it and get it here. So they were paying for this big note and they almost went out of business. So they're still in business. Not good wood, and they're still paying. Figueres, that one was done I'm trying to think what date it was done, but their initial amount was $90,000. Unfortunately, they went out of business, and they were late on a number of terms. We had to again go back and redo their loan, and they were able to use the building to lease out to 2 or 3 other restaurants. Has since failed. They're now behind. The building's up for sale. Just so the board is aware, what we have done, we have maintained a lien on the property. The lien is secure. The city's attorney or the mayor's attorney, the city's attorney has a copy of the lien, and also the title company has a copy of the lien. And so we update them what that number is for a payoff. And so when there's a sale, and we understand there's been an offer, an acceptance on a sale of the property. So we're hoping that we will get that paid out. Keep in mind, we are in second position, so the banks get first dibs. So, that's how it normally works. The other applicant is St. Andrews. They were able to get a note for $210,000. They've maintained their payments over the years. Their approximate balance right now is about $6,684. And so they've been a very good applicant. They've been very consistent on their payments. And so that's the outstanding notes right now we have for the program. In terms of activity in the marketplace, well, any questions before I move on to the next topic?
Well, one thing are you going to cover today, Clarence? You and I have talked about it before.
Yes, but I'm trying to, any questions about what we just
but you've talked about how there's different type of instruments besides just this here. And one of my questions I have is, I know there hasn't been a lot of activity with this program, but I don't think the city advertises it enough to companies in Michigan City as far as using this. I mean, how do we get this information out to businesses that, hey, we got this revolving loan program. It's for your use if you qualify for it. I don't know how we do that.
It's been numerous ways. I mean, it's always on our website. So anybody looking for assistance and they come to our website, it's on our website along with other programs. This is one of the many programs we offer for small business. It's in our monthly update that goes out across the community. It's on our social media. So, it's tough when, this way, you can do all those things and somebody who needs it still don't know. So, there's not a foolproof way of make sure everybody knows. It's just, you just keep marketing it, and hopefully, it gets out there. When people come to us who don't have a business plan, we normally have them talk to the SBDC first, and they get their business plan, and then this is one of the options they have for if you're looking for a loan. So, so this is one of many. And before I go into that, there's a whole lot of other people who are doing this too. Besides the banks, the regular banks have loans. The RDC has a number of loans they offer, and they're partnered with all the banks. And on your packet, there should be a list of the other people who are out there doing loans. And they've got from you can borrow from $500 to a maximum of $6 million. So there's a broad range from Michigan City, LaPorte County, the region, Chicago. We partner with a group called AC4B, and they are a nonprofit out of Chicago. They cover Indiana, they cover Chicago. And so we have a MOU with them. So if you just need $1,000, we can help you. And so if you need to buy equipment in a building, we can help you. It's $5 million. So we work with all these different agencies who do this for small business. So we are one of many. And so there are different terms. For everybody's got different terms, different interest rates, different application fees. So yeah. So in terms of access to capital, and I have not mentioned any banks, because if you have a bank account or an account with a credit union, they offer their own loans too. So there's a lot of pools of money out there. It's a matter of, can you qualify? And that's always the issue. Can you qualify?
So EDC would be the point source for those, the clearinghouse.
Yes.
Okay.
We have a MOU with all these agencies, but we also talk to all the banks. So one of the first questions we ask is, do you have a bank account, a business bank account? Because that's where you want to go first. If you know your banker, you should be talking to your banker first.
I mean, that sounds good because it's one point of contact in town, not, you have to talk to the clerk, you have to talk, that sounds really efficient.
So and usually when people come to us, they have an idea in their head. And so the first question is, do you have a business plan? And then if you don't have one, then we refer you to the SBDC, which, again, we have an MOU with them. You call the SBDC based in Crown Point. They'll meet you here in Business City in my office. Or use our conference rooms to meet with you. It's free of cost, and they'll work with you to put together a business plan. At that point, then you can identify your capital stack, your costs, your projections, and then if you have a banker, that's where we send you first. And then sometimes the banks, if you're looking for if you want to have like a zero down payment kind of thing, you can work with the RDC with an SBA type loan. If you got good credit, collateral, a lot of wonderful stuff that they all talk about. Yeah, so there's those type of things. If you're just looking for money, let's say that there's a big festival coming up and you want to sell some trinkets, we send it to SE4B. You can borrow $5 or $10,000, go buy some trinkets, sell, and pay them back. So there's different ways to do this. It's a matter of what you're trying to do. So when you come and talk to us, we're trying to figure out what you're trying to do. Then we can say, well, you may want to go over here or go over there. But so
yeah, and that was one of the myths. I think, I heard someone say, and this was previously, well, they're not giving us any loans. They're not. You have to qualify still. And I think getting through the paperwork and going through the process was, I don't want to do that. I just want you to give me the money. There's a process for everything. Mm-hmm. And if we're going to give you 5, 6, 7 options, you still got to fill out the application. And I think that was some of but they're not giving out loans. Well, they're getting loans from some of these other places too. A lot of folks that have come, they may not be getting our loan, but they got money from one of these places. So they still were helped. So I think that's some of the communication pieces that have not been shared is that, they may not be getting it from the Michigan City Revolving Loan, but they're getting it from NERC, they're getting it from RDC. We have several folks that in the TIF that have gotten small business SBA loans. But again, because it's not the revolving loan fund, there's this misnomer that they're not being helped, and that's not true.
And also, not everybody qualifies for this fund. I mean, it's maxed out at $260,000. So if you're looking to buy a building and get operating cash flow and all that, this is not for you.
While we were on the individual loans, I did have a couple questions. I reviewed all the material before we got here, so I saw what you've reported that basically 2 are in good standing, and it sounds like there's a contract on, I think, the Lindos building. So if title companies asked, but I'm curious. I know our loan terms are prime minus 3/4 apparently, but outside of that, there's no. I'm curious, what are the loan terms of the existing loans?
I'd have to go to their file to give it to you.
Yeah.
So, because they're all, pretty much they're straight loans.
Are they 15-year terms, 10-year terms?
I'd have to go back and send it to the board because they're all different.
Okay.
They're all very different.
Especially during COVID, I felt like there were a
couple that had to be redone after COVID. So, in a nutshell, I mean, even though we put it out there, we went to look back at our requests for loan from this specific loan, and on the sheet you'll see the numbers. It's been pretty low for us because these are people who actually call in to ask about this program. But anybody who comes in gets the menu. Based on what you're trying to do, you may qualify for one of these kind of thing. Currently, there's over $1 million in the city's coffers for this program, and so we don't see these dollars being spent anytime soon. And so one of the things today was, what do we do going forward with this money? There are some requests out there we'd like to have you guys consider because the money does us no good sitting there the last 5 years. And with things with the way they are, we'd like to probably look at how we can support some of the programs within the city. I can dive into that, or
Yep, we can get there.
so. One of the things that I've discussed with both the mayor and the councilman is how do we get some funding for our agency? One of the things was the city's gaming fund has been depleted for that supports development. I think there's roughly about $50,000 in there right now, and so one of the goals was
Maybe
for us
20.
20 okay.
Something.
So, okay, as of today, right? So we had asked the mayor, how do we get those monies in the future? And just so you guys are aware, the city puts a third of our budget. Our budget is about $700,000, and the EDC's total budget. And so
How much did you say, Clarence?
about $700,000 every year, our budget. And so the city has been a great supporter in putting $200,000 towards that budget every year. And so looking at the next 3 years, we were like, okay, how do we get that money from the public side to match our other dollars? And so we asked both the mayor and hopefully with the council, we would like to get the support to use some of these funds for that, because we think that it'd be better used to support our efforts. The rest of the money,
Can I give a little background though on the Boyd Gaming Fund? So the Boyd Gaming Fund is the money that is used for special events and for the EDC. And historically, we were getting anywhere from $400 to up to $1 million approximately annually every year. For the last couple of years, the previous administration had been budgeting the $400,000 as revenues received from Boyd Gaming, only to find out that we've been only receiving $50,000. So, and we were budgeting against it. So for the last several years, we ate up the cash balance that was in there. And I went, I had one of my first aha moments early on last year when I asked Blue Chip, I said, well, the check is missing a zero. And she laughed and she said, well, you're the first mayor in a long time who's asked about this money. Okay. I said, because I thought the check was wrong, and she said, no, it's right. It's you've only been receiving $50,000 for the last couple of years. After that, I called a workshop with the council to advise them where we were with the Riverboat and the Boyd Gaming funds, because we had been budgeting against money that wasn't there. So we're into basically we don't have enough money this year to do anything after this year. So we only did 1-year contracts with everybody because of what we found out. And so one of the conversations I had was, this money that is sitting here for development, and we've been providing resources for small businesses and doing training and some other things that there's probably an opportunity to do something with this money to continue that, because that's where it came from. But that's kind of where we're at. It's what it is. And also know, as a third, that Clarence, they're still responsible for raising money, which they do. So as far as their campaigns for raising money for their operating expenses as well. So I did want to give that background so that everybody understood where that money went and why it's not there. It's because we have not been receiving it, but we've been spending it for the last several years.
And that concerns this committee because the Boyd funds help fund the EDC with that $200,000 a year that we're only receiving $50,000 for.
Yep.
So the council's been making up the 150 for the last several years.
Well, there was a cash
city
balance.
has been.
Well,
The city,
yeah.
via the council.
Yeah.
Through other funding.
Yes.
General funds, yeah.
Yep. So so basically the cash balance that was in there was eaten all up, and that's kind of where we're at.
So, and I guess the request would be number one for you guys to consider that. It would mean, well, and then the rest of the money we would ask, we think the city has a great project in the making for the Feathers Alley, what's it called? What's the full name? Feathers Alley All-Inclusive Playground.
All inclusive.
So we would like to see the $400,000 put towards a matching for the private sector to match it. That way, that money would be double or triple to actually complete. You need $1 million to finish the project.
Yeah. Well, we need another $1.2 million or so, $1.3 million
So we would like to
finish that project off.
The balance be used as a matching grant, whereby we get business to actually match that money, and then it would be used to build the park.
The concept of matching is good, but you just mentioned $400,000. Are you suggesting from the revolving loan committee?
Yes.
Okay.
The whole idea would be we request the $600,000 to cover the EDC for the next 3 years. And so
you want to clear out the balance?
Well, the goal would be to terminate the fund because they pretty much.
kind of backing into that?
End of the day, it's we hold on to something that has not worked, and there's other people doing a much better job than we are. So even though it may sound great, nostalgic, but there's a lot of people doing a much better job than we are.
Yeah, I was on the council when it initially happened, and I thought it was a great idea.
It was a great idea.
But I didn't, they closed they moved not long after that. I think, again, we try to create opportunities based on the need right then and there, not knowing what the long-term impact will be. And we're finding that there's so many different programs that are available that, it's what it is.
And we functionally use SBA terms, qualifications.
Yes.
The RDC in Valpo.
Yes.
They're using SBZ or SBA qualifications to qualify. So it is a complete duplication. It sounds like we're not offering.
Besides that, there's easier programs like ACGroup that will fund a much smaller entrepreneur that the RDC doesn't even talk to. Like I said, somebody wants to borrow $2,000 to buy trinkets for the weekend to go sell and make some money. We have that option right now. This program wouldn't do that for you. With all the different meetings and processes you got to go through, this couldn't do it for you.
So Clarence, if a business comes in here and says, take for example like St. Andrew's Products, right? They want to buy a new shirt press, okay, for $300,000. They have the opportunity in these other programs
And they've got 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 other programs to go through beside ours.
Yeah, but would those terms be better than the terms that are
Oh yeah.
in this program right now?
We have a prime plus 3, so we have the cheapest.
I thought you said prime minus 3.
This program is much more advantageous for a business to borrow based on the rate and the terms.
Yeah, but it takes you a while to get through it.
Right, but I agree with municipalities, towns aren't equipped to loan money to businesses. They're not set up to do it effectively, efficiently, to handle payments, modifications. Say, for instance, with Figueres, if you got to sell the property and you're trying to collect on your lien, there's a lot of things that come into play with respect to loaning money. So I think it's a very difficult, or it's a challenge for the city of Michigan City to manage something like this. That's why you had to go out with the RDC, right? So that they would take the application, they would do the review. I don't know what they do after the fact, but a lot of the upfront work was done by them. So, but I think in some of the cases, some of these businesses went to this program because of the rate. They probably could have gotten bank financing, or they could have gone some other route, but they saw that the terms and the rate and go, oh, I want to get money from the city because it's a lot cheaper. Right. In some of these cases, not all of them, I can recognize some of them, but I would say that was probably the case maybe in half of these loan applications.
Yeah, there's no prime minus loans right now.
No.
The one thing to keep in mind, I think, for all of us, when money's easily available, this program's not necessary. What happens when we have another financial crisis or recession? Because you know how it is. When you go to a bank for money, if you don't need the money, they'll loan you it. When you need the money, it's very difficult to get a loan from a bank. So keeping this as a viable avenue when times are tougher is something to consider. That, we might be able to make funds available when other lending has been kind of frozen. Something to consider. Just throwing it out there.
I have a question on the terms. So how did we come up with the create one job for every $65,000 borrowed?
That was based on, when I got it, it was based on what the SBA terms are. SBA is like
Probably,
one job for every 100,000, whatever.
And so with our maximum loan of $260, we would be hoping for 4 jobs.
Yeah. I think we would lower because of the SBA terms.
Is that
It was an
realistic?
SBA term that they was used to put it together when it was put together.
I don't seem realistic. But
Oh yeah, it's limiting actually. So.
Well, Clarence, I think in your presentation to City Council last week, I think this office has been responsible or can claim credit, at least in partial credit for, if not all the credit for, close to $500 million of development coming to the city. Double tracking has a lot to do with that too.
Of course. The right time.
It gave you the right environment
But
to work
even if
in.
you take that out, you're still talking a couple hundred million.
And that's the stuff that's responsible. There's all the private residential rehab that's happened in the last few years as well, which has caused us some garbage problems, but should have a nice housing stock. Where I'm going with this is, it seems that the cost of the EDC has a very high return on investment from the perspective of city's $200,000 a year has leveraged $500 million of development. That's pretty, you can't even calculate that. That's just off the charts. Even if their total budget is $700,000, if they're generating $100 million a year of new investment in the city, we all massively benefit from that, I would think.
And I will add that just in being on the redevelopment commission and then being involved with the IEDC, the international and state, trying to make sure, one of my goals is to make sure that people are understanding development and the cycles of development and the time it takes. In my travels over the last several years and meeting people from other states and communities our size, it's interesting. They all know one another. It's weird, but they do. And they, oh, Mayor, you were a council person. And they said, and then I'll meet someone that Clarence used to work for in different cities. And I don't think we realize people have their opinions of things, but development takes time, it takes energy, but it takes relationships. And Michigan City is at a place and time where relationships across the world and the country matter. I know we talk about, using locally, local, but a lot of our local projects, because we tried to go that route with our friends, never happened. And now we're at a place that it's about people who are qualified, who have their own money, who have their capital stack and their team together. And we're at this place now that we can demand certain things. And I think we've been doing a good job of supporting our small businesses with the ARPA money that we've given out. and that we've used. I do believe we do need to keep a small pot of money maybe for smaller businesses. I think manufacturers, they use this.
That's big money.
Right.
But maybe, setting aside, 75,000 plus any money we receive from the payments and all that in a separate bucket for smaller businesses with some other type of terms outside of this
Modified terms.
would be, I would support something like that. I just believe like the big boys, they can come to redevelopment, they can go to these, and hopefully they built their credit up enough that they can, suffice. But some of the smaller ones, I'm thinking that are startups that are 5 to 10 years, there might need to be a little something there that's a little bit easier to deal with.
Kind of $50,000 and less.
Versus
up to 260.
Yeah.
There's kind of two competing thoughts right now on the table, it seems to me. One, we need an exact balance of what's in the account, the million. Is that $1,010,000 or $1.3 million? But I thought you had the number. So it's $1,020,120. So a little over $1 million, $1,020,200, whatever.
Plus the
120 plus
plus the
ongoing
collections.
payments. So the first ask is to fund the EDC to the tune of $600,000 for the next 3 years, and $400,000 for what?
Feathers Alley.
Oh, to go towards a matching fund for the Feathers Alley all-inclusive playground, and vote us out of business. Vote this committee defunct. Mayor's brought up another idea that can we keep this tool alive for smaller businesses, more startups? I'm thinking like the next tattoo shop, the next young couple that wants their hand at the American dream. Well, we've had some tattoo people come before the boards asking for variances. So we can't do both these things.
Well, I think though, to start out with the matching funds, you don't have to take all of the money right now, but we offer it up to a certain amount because we want to have the carrot out there. I think that if, so the Solaire, I'm just going to name them so that they can hear, the Solaires of the world and the fiber bonds
The
and
NIPSCOs.
yes, that, they have, some of them have foundations, and, a $25,000 ask, I think should be minimum. And if we can match 25,000, great. And maybe we see if we can get the first, the first 10 of those. That's 25. That's 250. That's $500,000, and see where that gets us first. I would be happy with that because I think you need some type of momentum to get it going. We're starting to get personal donations from the match from the charitable gala, but they're smaller. They're $10 to $500. It's going to take us a whole 1,000 of those to get that going, right?
Yeah.
But for these are like larger asks, and maybe we can even get foundations to participate if we do something like that. So maybe we start with 250,000 to see if we can get that going faster, and get that going, and then leave the rest in here, and then figure out how this board comes up with a way to come up with a smaller program for smaller businesses that maybe is shorter in terms, still with a good interest rate, because we want them to survive and thrive. So we're really not trying to make money off of them. Really, it's just really covering our fees. But if it's something a little bit more simpler with a simple application, and then they pay it back, something like that would be nice.
Does it make more sense to have that small piece as a grant instead of a small loan?
I think a forgivable grant, but they got to have skin in the game.
Forgivable, yes.
They got to pay something, a certain percentage. Think about maybe a percentage that they pay, and then it's forgivable if they're consistently paying on time for so many
5 years.
Yeah, and then it's forgivable.
And they create the program, they said they're going to create it.
I think that keeps money going in it, and it keeps it moving.
It's more of an incubator. It's almost like you're gambling. There's a high chance of failure and losing the smaller amounts, which is why a grant might as well just admit it up front.
But I think
but having skin in the game and not being a freebie is important too.
Yeah, I think that I like something like that.
So how about an idea like this? Instead of zeroing out this whole account and giving it all to clearance for the next 3 years and the playground, how about something along the lines of the matching funds? Mayor suggested between $250 and $400. I would say let's put the whole $400 down actually, and see if we can't get matches. But if you think that's what he said. But I would suggest whatever we want for the playground, in addition to 1 year funding for the EDC, keeping the remaining balance in our balance while we determine what we want to do moving forward.
I would say 2 years funding. And the reason why I'm saying that is the projects that we have going right now and the momentum that we have. I don't want to do, I did a year this year because I had to and I didn't want to.
Well, you have that Gary money next year and then for the next 5 years.
Yeah, we're going to need that for the property tax money they took. I would suggest 2 years because I don't want instability either. And I think going year to year is not a stable way to look at things when you're running a business.
So you're saying 600,000 then?
400
for
and
EDC.
400.
Yeah.
Out of our 1,020,000.
Yep.
Keeping 400 in this
Okay,
account.
and then what else is coming in is the other companies are still making payments.
Yeah, you also have the money.
And that'll be going
$50,000.
back
So you have
into the fund.
Yep. So you have 200,000
Plus what's going back into that fund.
And that allows us, the administration, the council, to see where we stand budget wise over the next year and a half, 2 years, without having to worry about it. Because otherwise, if we don't figure this out sooner, right now we know there's going to be implications to the budget, but it gives us at least 2 full years to figure out what's next versus going year to year.
Okay, so if it's 2 years, 400,000 to EDC, what do you suggest for the all-inclusive playground?
What you said, 400?
So the 400.
Yep.
So burn 800 of the million.
And then you got 200,000 left.
Yeah, but plus
payments.
you also have
Payments.
payments
Plus
coming back
10,000.
into
Call
that.
10,000 a month or whatever.
So you're looking at probably another, I don't know, 200 grand
Yeah.
before it's all over with,
Yep.
with other payments coming in.
But then we'll
So
know.
that's 400,000 right
and then
there.
we'll have a fiscal plan though too.
Yeah.
That's out multiple years.
Yeah.
To be able to say this is where we're at.
I think it's a very good.
This end does a lot of talk. This end has done all the talking. What does that side have to say?
I'm actually quite happy with it being the 200K for the American Dream Fund.
Call it the American Dream Fund.
Because I was actually quite surprised to hear that, and I like that idea too, because I'm thinking also it's not just the little small business that wants to get a start, it's the little small business that just got hit with the lentil and I-beam that just eroded away,
Or their cost of product going up by 145%.
Yeah.
When they're trying to get off the ground or something.
Right.
If they can just get a little help, they might make it.
Yeah.
Left the money for the program completely. Hold on, here.
Mayor, if I can ask a question. So why did the 400,000 come up for the playground? Where did that number come from?
Just that was the balance of what was left.
It was the balance of the original ask.
For the playground.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It
400,000.
was
Trying to
$1 million,
match it
was it?
and trying to get that, use that as our leverage for local companies to,
Okay.
because it was just a made up number.
What is the city
Yeah,
already?
that's what I'm saying.
Where did
400,000.
Just a made
It
up
was a
number.
balance. It was a balance. We were asking for 600,000, so it would have been the balance of the million. So that's where it came from.
We call it Skilled Capital Program Management.
Pardon?
Skilled Capital Program Management.
So 400,000. But I think it's a good start.
How much is the city already contributing towards the playground?
Oof.
$750,000
Right.
through
No.
the ARP funding.
Okay, so 750.
And I think there was I think there was a little bit more, maybe out of the riverboat. I think
It
when
was
that all got
riverboat,
started.
redevelopment.
So it could be like, redevelopment.
Yeah, it's a couple
So you're
million.
This is like a $5 million project,
I was
isn't
just
it?
what was the total for the whole project?
5.6,
Yeah.
Oh,
and we're at 4 million.
And this proposed 400 from us is effectively city money too. The council funded this at one point.
like in the back.
It's been done as a challenge grant.
Yep.
I like the matching aspect of it very much.
It could potentially go to 8.
Yeah, absolutely. We could even get kinky at the end and do double matches and stuff like that, like they do on PBS.
But you know what? I think too,
When we get close to our goal.
it might be easier to ask some of the foundations with the challenge match to say, listen, everybody's kicked in. It's not just it's the city council, it's administration, it's the redevelopment commission, the revolving loan fund that existed. Trying to get local businesses to be, community partners, good corporate citizens, just to push the envelope. It's a good story to be able to sell it.
Absolutely.
So it's a total $5 million project, and we have $4 million allocated
Excuse me.
Yep.
for that. So we're just short $1 million.
A million
Yeah,
two.
hey, Steve. And then the other thing is there's $1 million in the maintenance.
So we have a fund.
Correct.
We have
There's a maintenance fund that's going to be
It's
set
ongoing.
aside for $1
Okay.
million.
So we already have that.
to take
Okay.
care of just
For
that
ongoing
part.
maintenance.
Yep.
That's
That
great.
was
Yeah. So 6 mil.
yeah. So that 750,000 is sitting there for future maintenance
So
in an endowment.
I'm sorry. 2 years of funding to the EDC, $400,000. $400,000 to the playground fund.
To matching fund for the,
I mean, do we have? Does this?
Put us out.
Does that fund exist for this money to go to? I know how this.
We have a fund.
how the civic
Yeah.
money is. It has to go somewhere.
Well, it's in a revolving loan. Once we work that out with the controller's office, it's in a. It's
Oh, it stays
already in
in this
account.
account,
It's
okay.
already in an account.
So we don't really move this. We're allocating that.
Yeah. Yeah. So we could do the match and then wait till we see how many matches we got and then make the appropriation towards it if that's. But I think it has to be set in stone by the board has to agree to make the recommendation that
You need a motion.
for that. And then we'll need to find out. I hadn't even discussed this with Amber, but should I?
Do we have to define how the matching grant program would work?
not really. You guys are matching up too, so if it doesn't get up to that
If we
point,
can find one person to donate it, we'll be
it'll
done.
be done. Yeah. So it's,
That'd
it
be
must be
great.
allocated at some, so maybe we can look at it. I guess it'll be up to the Parks Department at that point to then start looking for these
Because
matches.
they're talking about naming conventions and things like that. I think it'd probably be somewhere starting at $10,000.
They've got some bricks to move too from the fountain.
Yeah, so 10,000.
So what I would like to see though, if I could interject, is the grant idea is great, okay, but I'd like to see a little bit more balance left in this fund just for smaller companies if they want to use it. So maybe 300,000 in the matching grant fund and leave whatever's left in this fund.
I'll do better than that. According to our ordinance, the city council is supposed to appropriate $650,000 a year to this account, if I read that correctly,
To what account?
to our revolving loan account.
That ain't happening.
All right.
I think
Well, let me ask this question.
that's how I read it.
Because the fund has not been used. So if we're saying we're going to leave 220,000 in there, and we're receiving payments
150.
every month. What is the ask again? I'm sorry, Don.
Pardon?
I'm sorry. What is the ask? Because we're saying if we leave $200,000, we're still collecting how much annually?
$150,000.
150
is what the
It's still gonna be 300.
Remaining balance.
It'll
must be
regrow
collected.
itself pretty quickly from the
Okay,
retainer.
so it'll be 200 plus
Plus-
150 plus 150 over, I don't know how much longer these loans have to go. You know what I'm saying?
Well, one's nearly paid off. One has a $6,000
Yeah,
balance.
that's
What do you got there, Steve? You're the banker.
So here's the
You
ordinance.
basically got 150,000 left.
Okay.
That would be coming in. So you would end up having 350,000, but I don't know what the amortization on these notes are.
Yeah, right.
How long it's going to take to bring in those
Yes,
payments.
answer that.
$500 a month payments.
Yeah.
Section 38-34, Common Council, Michigan City, Indiana intends to appropriate $650,000 to initially fund this program and annually hereafter or as required to provide additional funding to maintain an adequate operating level of funding for this program, which said amount shall be subject to the financial conditions of the city itself.
Oh. So not really.
So you're not,
Yeah, so
you can, but,
yeah, so that really
Sort of
doesn't
hard
play
ass.
into what we're talking
well,
about.
unless we ask for more money and then we can give them.
No. I don't
I know the mayor loves to hand out money.
know.
Anyway, that's my thought on it without having all the numbers scrutinized right in front of us. Yeah.
Well, also know we set aside some money for entrepreneurs already with ARPA money, but 70,000.
Yeah.
So they already have that for small businesses. So that, in addition to the 200,000,
And
you got to
that,
spend that first.
and that would be grants, I would
That's
assume.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we do have money that we already set aside for small businesses. That is ARPA money.
That they can get now.
Well,
Yeah,
we're working
that's
through
fine.
how we're
We're
going to
putting
do
together
it.
as a-
Yeah, but I thought if it was ARPA money, right,
It has to be used by next year.
by next year.
by the end of 2025?
No, 2026.
Oh, 2026.
It had to be allocated by the end of last year.
Yeah.
And last year we gave away over $700,000.
So that's what I'm
Okay,
saying.
all right.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so they were given the grants last year, but they got 2 years to spend it.
Oh no! They were given $700 last year, and they pretty much already spent it. We have another $70,000 to put together some kind of different
Smaller
program,
group.
smaller
Oh.
business,
So there's money still there, but that 200,000 can sit and get interest or whatever.
Or how about this? We initially do the playground matching fund at $250,000. If we're successful in using getting matches, we can appropriate additional funds at that time.
Yeah. Good.
So that would be $400 to Clarence
EDC.
personally.
Oh Lord!
No. Don't say that. They'll be reporting that.
Oh my goodness!
2 years of funding for the EDC at $200,000 a year. So $400,000
That's 200.
plus an
250.
additional $250 to be appropriated to as matching funds to the all-inclusive playground.
And then at least 350 in there, and then that still can
And
grow.
it's going to grow, and we keep our options open for further grants
Yeah.
to the
Yeah,
playground.
but I mean, we got to raise $1 million.
Oh, we know.
To get that playground.
know.
Yeah, we know. But yeah, I wouldn't want to cut it any less than, I mentioned 300,000. I'd like to leave it right there. I mean, we keep getting lower and lower and lower. That's just more and more.
No, I just left you more
Legwork.
money.
Yeah. it's-
Pardon?
I just used $650 of it. I
Yeah,
left
we'll
more
leave
money
350
behind.
in there.
I reduced the amount to leave more in the account.
Yeah, 350.
Yeah, but I mean, I thought you said 250 for the playground.
Yes.
Yeah.
Plus 400.
I was saying leave
650.
300 in the account for the
Okay.
playground.
Oh, 300 for the playground. I thought you wanted 300 left over after we did all this.
No, I was
For our
reducing it down to 300,000 for the playground, which would automatically leave another 100,000
I
in
misunderstood.
the account.
So basically, you
700.
It's 700,
So
yeah,
you want-
which leaves 300 in the revolving loan fund for
It's
small
going to grow
biz.
by
So you want
150.
320,000 for the match.
Oh, you want to take that little 20 too, do you?
I mean, I'm just saying he wanted to leave.
I want my
300.
account to have that little remainder. I like even numbers.
There you go.
So 300.
Just making it up.
So now we're at 2 years of $200,000 to the EDC, plus an additional appropriation of $300,000 for the playground.
Yes. And then the rest stays in.
Not that I'm the chairperson, but would anyone like to make a motion?
I know everybody's kind of.
I'll make a motion that we go with
4, 3, and
that funding.
I second.
Yeah, so 300,000 for the playground and
400,000 for the
how much for the
400
for the
so we're
EDC.
700. So 700 of our $1,020,000, leaving us 300,000
1,000.
20 and I'm saying it wrong.
300,000 for the
No,
playground
it's 320,000
Just
is left over.
320,000,
Yes.
yeah.
300,000 for the playground
Yes.
match. Okay. And then 300,000 for clearance. right?
400.
400,
For
400.
2 years.
leaving a
700,000.
balance of $320,000 in the revolving loan account
With a potential repayment of about
with payments going to that.
That'll put it.
Okay.
How much longer are those payments? The 150 that we count.
I'd say over the next 3 years.
Over the
At
next
least
couple
three.
of years.
Yeah, because Sanders is almost done.
Yeah.
The Garris is a
Yeah, there's a
second
number
sale,
of-
So it's a couple
This
years.
leaves
Okay.
this leaves
Yeah,
our
we-
options open to keep the revolving loan committee active, or at a later date close it down.
Right.
But for now, we have our options open. We funded the EDC for 2 years. We've got matching funds for the playground, and we still have $300,000.
And modify the,
The loan.
yeah, you gotta modify the
You
loan.
guys gonna need a working meeting for that.
That's tricky because, well,
You have time.
we have a motion
Let's
actually.
put the motion up
Yeah.
to that, so.
Motion on the table.
I'll second.
Second.
All in favor? Signify by saying aye. Those opposed?
Oh wait, I just did an Illinois vote.
Pardon?
I did 3 ayes. I said I just did an Illinois vote.
So,
Okay.
that passes, I
Thank
guess.
you. Next step would be, since you guys have mentioned you want to see a different way the program is set up, we can look at what we did last year with the ARPA fund. We can look at what some of the other people have done with small business loans and come up with some recommendations, and we can have a workshop at that point and decide how we want to move forward.
This is a little trickier because right now we're talking people who probably don't qualify for loans. That these are the kind of people we want to help. So they're not. We're still going to make them. I've been a long-term landlord. A lot of my process is, do they jump through my hoops? Like, do they fill out my application? I don't even check references. If they filled it out, it's good enough for me. Because most people don't even go that far.
That's how we did.
You know, so they have to jump through our hoops, but at the same time, we're actually probably going to be pretty loosey-goosey with this. But given it's public funds, how do we keep the appearance of any impropriety out of this? So even though it's going to be easy terms to qualify for, we still do have to codify what those would be.
We did that last year with the ARPA fund. We had an application process. There was a committee who met and distributed the funds. So we would still do something similar. We'd come to this committee and then we distribute the funds.
Yeah.
So
I think you are all
You
the
already-
committee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And no need to reinvent the wheel. We've already done this type of application. We've got the stuff we need.
But they're still going to have to put some skin in the game, correct?
Mhm.
Up front, I think you give them, I think even during COVID with the, and I was one of those, even with COVID when they had the, what did they call the money? Businesses got loans or whatever.
The PPP money?
Yeah.
Yeah, the loan portion of it, not the
The
free money.
EIDL?
Yeah, not the free money that people got.
The auto loans?
I know.
Yes, but they gave it was a year before you start making a payment,
Right.
right? It was a year, and then they were very minimal payments graduated over time, and so it's not even like a loan. It's probably like for some people Starbucks payments. I hate to say it that way, but they're very low interest, minimal, and they gave them a year, before they actually started taking money from them. So you can think of, but I think that's what you spend your time thinking about.
Yeah.
Look at some different ones that people do and see if there's an opportunity, and then you forgive it after a certain period of time.
We do need people of a certain level, a certain caliber of potential success. We've all dealt with dreamers and Weezers. There's a million people with $1 million ideas. It's only 1 in a million.
I don't think this is for startups.
Okay.
I mean, in my opinion, if it's a revolving loan fund, it's somebody who's been established for at least 3 years. I don't think it's that's an entrepreneur fund.
Well, I thought you were suggesting smaller funds for less qualified people. So
Well, but not startups. I think
Okay.
they should be established. If they're a business and they've been in business 3 years,
like a tattoo shop.
that gives you a little some skin in the game.
Yeah.
Because you're coming because you're trying to either enhance your business or to upskill it or do something to it that's what the revolving loan fund was for, you to be bigger and better. So I think you still stay with that mindset that is for established business, not an entrepreneur startup, in my opinion.
And you could probably, I'm sorry,
in
go
my
ahead.
opinion. But I'm not a voting member of y'all board.
Well, I was also kind of thinking, too, just from recent experiences I've had, established businesses that all of a sudden get hit blindsided with something, you know. So I know someone who sustained substantial repairs to their building. It was all hidden behind. When we went to remove the windows, we had to take flashing off what looked like it was a decorative flashing, and the whole 68-foot long masonry lintel that held up their parapet wall was gone.
Yeah.
It was rust dust. And then we got into it further, and the whole I-beam was gone behind it. You could see holes right through it.
So I could see someone maybe not being, able to go to a bank, but say, I need $50,000. And now we come up with some terms that you all agree with to allow them to stay in business. They're established. That's a great example of something like that. I just don't see it for like a startup. I mean, that's what those ARPA money, you got ARPA money, you can use that for startup folks. But I think the revolving loan fund really was for
New or existing businesses.
It says new or existing,
It
but
does.
new, you have to have jobs, $65,000.
That's the one per 65. And,
All that.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
very different in that sense, because then someone can say, well, I'm just going to start a bakery out of my house.
No.
So I'm trying to make sure that we're
Avoid the cottage industry.
right. So we got to make sure that, you're able to really like verify and validate. So if it's going to be smaller amounts, then you're going to be a little bit free.
Right. I mean, if somebody says, "Hey, I want 50,000," well, maybe we'll give you 10,000, but we can't give you 50,000 because we can't deplete the whole
We don't,
program on one business.
you're not established enough to,
Right. Exactly.
to show your records.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I get the vibe we're sort of changing the scope of what the revolving loan's for from larger things up to $260,000 to now potentially things not to exceed $50,000 probably, and probably smaller than that.
So you guys looking to make it more forgivable because your operational collection cost goes way up at that point. That we get to spend more money collecting than actually giving away the money. So
You ain't never lied
just
about that.
just trying to understand that.
I think you need a workshop. You need to get recommendations from
So-
people who've done it.
Well, as I tell people, there's an art to having
Collection.
people pay you.
It sure is.
It's selecting the right people to start with, frankly.
That's the administrative costs associated with this loan program that you don't take into consideration. And it can be very expensive. Who's going to make the collection efforts? Is it Clarence picking up the phone, trying to?
It's more bad.
Yeah, so that definitely comes into play. It's one of those things where I think you have to have a specific industry and loan purpose for this revolving loan fund. It can't be just opened up to everybody. Exactly.
I have a unique set of talents.
Could be done similar to the facade grant.
What's that?
Could be done similar to the facade grant where they have to show proof that they spent that money and then we
Then it's a
reimburse them.
reimbursement. It's not a revolving loan fund anymore. It's a
Yeah,
reimbursement
it's a
program.
reimbursement fund. Yeah.
No, we can do it outside the downtown and outside the TIF areas. There's some people who could use this help outside the TIF
Now that
because
is
the TIF
Yeah,
will
we have
cover
expanded
facade
boundaries. Yeah.
within the TIF, both south, midtown, and north. But there are people who aren't in the TIF who could use that specific type of help, but they will never get it because they're not in the TIF.
well, and then they have the Urban Enterprise Association can help businesses, and maybe it's those people who don't fall in the TIF or Urban Enterprise
Yeah.
So
Association.
get a help, and then they can come to you guys, and then that way we can do it, and then that will work. So it's no longer a revolving loan fund; it's a fund to help business, but it's a reimbursement. So you guys approve it, and then they spend the money, and then they're reimbursed. That'd be easier to collect, and it's done for the purpose. Yeah.
I kind of like that because that was my only concern. You got businesses that don't fall in TIF. You got businesses that don't fall in the urban enterprise zone, and they're not eligible for anything.
Anything.
Just like with some of the homeowners outside of the UEA, they're not eligible and then they're not eligible for CDBG if they're live in a certain area, even though they still need the help. So I think that could be I think you should explore all of that.
It would help the areas of the city on the northeast side of the city, on the southwest side of the city, and the west side that aren't in the TIF. I'm trying to think of the maps where the TIFs are right now. So I mean, for the amount of money we have, it would actually work because it's not the whole city.
That's true. That's a thought.
This is something that I've never experienced. I just have only recently kind of heard about. Is the nonprofits cannot directly,
Even though
benefit
they're
from
businesses.
a TIF. But at the same time, I know that if there's programs within a TIF, they can take advantage of that. Would they be able to take advantage of something like this?
This was done mainly for business, so it has to be this and the council deciding they want to do nonprofits.
Yeah,
That gets rough.
it does.
I think.
This might say no nonprofits. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
It was done for business, so.
Yeah.
But I like the opportunity for businesses outside of TIFs and in the urban enterprise zone that aren't
Get stuff
eligible.
done.
So our niche is helping smaller businesses expand in the city who aren't otherwise serviced by the TIF or the urban enterprise zones.
That could be.
That could be our new focus.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because then you're tapping the people who have no way to get help right now.
And we are now, the city's offering help to
And giving
otherwise
equal
unhelped.
representation in
Yeah.
a way.
Right.
Now.
I like that.
So we can explore, look at the maps and all that, and kind of look at what's out there and come up with some ideas for you guys to look at.
And check the corridors that aren't in those areas because there's like the Woodland, Carwick going out,
Yeah, Carver, right too.
Highway 212.
Yeah.
They're not a part of anything.
It's interesting you bring up Highway 212. There's a business there that has just recently gone through a major remodel after a problem. Saigon.
And they weren't eligible for anything.
And we had a city councilman reach out to at least some of us saying we should talk to, what's his name, Tommy?
Billy.
And see
We were trying to
if
get
we
him
can
help, but
him.
he wasn't in the UEA. He wasn't in the.
He is in the South TIF.
Now he is,
And
yes.
so we are trying to help him,
Yeah.
handhold him. He just need to give us some numbers.
I have a feeling he's not good with paperwork.
So,
We're working with
to
them.
sit down and handhold
We've
him.
been
and
working
we just
with
need
them.
to get the paperwork so we can help him with application. That's
We're
where we're
working
at
with
right
them.
now.
So he's not really eligible for us anymore. Or he still is, but
Not for this, but for the TIF on this east side, we can help him.
okay.
And we've reached out to him numerous times.
We're
She
working
has,
with
and
them.
so we're trying to get
We've
them.
been
We
working with
want some numbers from him so we can put together applications for him.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
been the issue. So.
But there are some areas, some pockets in the city that they're not eligible for anything.
Probably the west side.
West side
West
for
side.
sure. Woodland.
Woodland, yeah. So
Yeah, there's a couple places.
and this-
I like that direction. That feels good. Right?
Then the whole city's covered.
That's great.
So
Not a bad idea. I'll have to get a map made.
we'll get the map done. And then
I'll get a map made with the overlays in it and identify the areas that are not covered. I can get that done.
So good news, Michigan City. We have we have loan
We
programs
got you covered.
throughout the entire city. Please come here and expand your businesses.
we got you covered.
We're looking to help.
All areas outside. Okay.
All right.
Sounds good.
We done?
Everybody happy?
I think that would fall under administrative. I think that falls under administrative updates. So the next thing would be
That was good.
you're the chairperson.
Oh, what do we got here? So
7.
it's
We're up to
adjournment. I see
we're up to
adjournment.
7.
I guess I'll entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
Motion to adjourn.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? It's adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah,
Good meeting.
thank you. Very good.